Welcome to the Killer Boobies podcast, unraveling breast implant illness, sharing stories of women who went from victim to victor, interviewing doctors with their insight, and sharing hope and tools to reclaim health. Here's your hosts, Wendy Bunnell, Leslie Smoot, and Brandy Vega. And as always, we want to make sure you know that this podcast is not intended for the purpose of providing medical advice. All information, content, and material of this podcast is for informational purposes only.
And welcome to the Killer Boobies podcast. My name is Leslie Smoot, and I am your host today. And I'm thrilled to introduce you to Brandy Vega.
Hi, how are you?
Good. And I'm so thrilled to have you, Brandy. I know your time is precious. You are one of the busiest women I know. You are so busy. You've got a production company, Vega Media Studios, and you guys keep really busy with a lot of productions going on in Salt Lake City, Utah. You're the mother of three. You've got two teenagers and a toddler. So
yes,
you are full. And gosh, Brandy also started a nonprofit organization called gooddeedrevolution.org. You still volunteer in your local community at the hospitals, and you go to a lot of charity events, and you're really busy also as a business person. So I'm so grateful that you were able to take some time out of your day today and tell us, what's going on in your world. So welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, of course, I feel like this is a very important topic. It's something that I'm dealing with. It's something that I want to spread the word on and try to help others. That's why I volunteer at the hospital with Nobody Dies Alone in spiritual care. I feel like if God gives me so many blessings with my children and my business and my nonprofit, that it's my duty and obligation as a human being to help where I can and lift where I can. So I love humanitarian work. I love volunteering, and I do stay pretty busy as a single mom, but this whole breast implant illness is just something that popped on the radar for me within the last 4 or so months. And now here I am standing on the rooftops trying to warn others and dealing with this whole nightmare.
So Brandy, you're one of the women who found out that this year, in fact, I think it was in the summer of 2019, that the manufacturer of the breast implants that are inside your body were recalled.
Oh, hey, I never got a call. I never got an email. I was never notified, period. And the way I found out about this whole thing is my friend, Wendy Bunnell. I've known her for several years. We actually met through foster care. I do foster care. I'm a foster mom and adopted that little toddler you're talking about. I got him at 2 days old, born addicted to meth, and now he's 2.5 and doing great. But I met Wendy back then, and she did a very brave post on Facebook and said, it was titled Killer Boobies, and she explained what was going on with her body. And I was like, wait a minute, I have breast implants. I wonder what's going on with my body. And that's kind of when this journey began in October, was just through her social media post and having the courage to put that out there. And then I just started to research it. And, at first it was like, oh, that's interesting. And then it kind of eats at you, especially as you develop, it's like, well, is this symptom part of aging, genetics? Is it hereditary? Or are these the implants attacking me, or my body attacking the implants? And I just kind of went through the process. And finally, I think in December, I laid awake in bed all night and I couldn't sleep. My left breast hurt. And I started digging and doing research. I was like, what's recalled? What isn't recalled? And the next day I called the doctor. And that's when I got the information, and they just told me, oh, don't worry about it. Like, it's not a big deal. It's 0.00003% that actually get anything. Most women are totally fine. So even though they're recalled, you don't need to remove them. But if you decide you want to remove them, they'll replace them for free. And you should just get the gummy bear implant. And I said, okay, well, no, you'll still have to pay for it. They just give you the implants for free.
So Allergan did a recall, a voluntary recall with the FDA in the summertime, but you never heard about that.
No.
You weren't aware of that. You didn't know that. And that's the kind of implant you have.
Yeah,
right?
I have the Allergan Natural textured implant. The textured implants are the ones that are causing the biggest problem. They're causing breast cancer, along with all the other BII symptoms, which again was a foreign language to me just in October.
When you learned about it.
Yeah, I had no clue what any of the signs or symptoms. I'd never even heard of it. And my background, I was in the military. I was a broadcast journalist in the Army. I graduated early. I went to college. I worked as a TV news anchor and reporter. I was a VP at a big company, and then I've been running my own business. I consider myself fairly savvy and knowledgeable in news and subjects that are important. I always read the headlines. I always kind of have a grasp on what's going on around me. That's why this was very frustrating to me, because one, I hadn't seen it or heard of it. And that floors me since it's been around so long. And it's like, I try to keep up with current events and things that are important, especially if I hear something that pertains to me and affects my life.
Right.
But I just had never heard anything about it. I had no idea.
So the first time that you had any awareness that breast implants might be a concern for women or you was in October, when your friend Wendy posted her own story on Facebook. Is that right?
Yep, that's the first time. And that's why I'm like, I'm educated. I should have known this. Why didn't I know this? It makes me feel betrayed by my doctor. It makes me feel a little bit betrayed by the women who are going through it and who are suffering silently because they don't have the courage to speak up, or they're just embarrassed. And I get it. I'm embarrassed too. None of us want to shout from the rooftops, hey, I got a boob job. Somewhere in my life, I'm not comfortable with my own body, or I'm insecure, or for whatever the reason might be. It's embarrassing to talk about enhancing your body for a physical appearance that's strictly physical and not medical. So I get that, but I also felt slightly hurt or frustrated that nobody's mentioned anything. I haven't been able to get a good breath in 10 years. I mean, even as we sit here, it's like, sometimes I feel like I just can't quite breathe. And
yeah, and that's a common problem with a lot of women that have the breast implants. They often complain about not having too much pressure on their chest and not being able to get a good breath. But maybe you never even had heard that.
I had no idea.
Yeah,
I had no idea. And, you know, I've always been a very active person, athletic. I like to ski. I like to play tennis and sports, basketball. I went and I was playing basketball for New Year's with some of the youth in my church group. And after about 15, 20 minutes, I literally thought I was going to die.
no.
I went skiing and I hit 15 runs, but it was like, I'm down there just doubled over because I'm thinking, why can't I breathe? Why does this hurt? Even right now, I feel like my eyes are still slightly glossy and hurting. There's just all these different signs. I read it and I was like, I have that, but I thought it was just because I'm a over 40 woman. You know, I just turned 42, and my mom has some medical conditions. She has fibromyalgia, she has degenerative bone, psoriatic arthritis, all these medical things. And I've watched her suffer the last 20 years. And I just pray, like, please don't let me be like my mom. Please don't let me go through this pain and suffering. And so as my symptoms have started to creep on in the last couple of years, especially the last year, I chalked it up to genetics,
Right.
aging.
Yes.
And now I'm like, wait a minute, I might be cursed with some of those genetics. I get it. But these implants are probably making it worse, or potentially causing it. I don't know. Either way, I want to get them out of my body and not have to second guess it. And I don't want cancer. I'm a single parent trying to raise 3 kids. I don't want to die of breast cancer. I've done way too many stories with way too many beautiful souls who've left too soon because of cancer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be one of them.
Right. Right. So what went through your mind when you did call the doctor and you did find out that they were recalled for breast cancer?
I had been studying the group online, the, you know, Healing Breast Implant Illness with Nicole. I had kind of talked to Wendy a little bit.
Mm-hmm. That group is a private Facebook page, so you won't come across that unless you go to healingbreastimplantillness.com. But the discussion you're referring to is on the Facebook page, Healing Breast Implant Illness by Nicole, and it's a private group.
And when Wendy had posted her stuff, I said, wow, I'm interested in this. I might have private messaged her, and she gave me the information to the page.
Yeah. I
was a reporter. I like to dig in. I like to learn the facts of a story. I went in there and went into investigative reporting mode, and went through it all, read it all. By the time I called my doctor and they acted like I was stupid, it was no big deal, just come in for a replacement. Women are exaggerating. You're fine. Don't worry about it. I was pretty upset because I felt like the reason I got my implants in the first place, okay, I'm a TV news reporter, I'm a television host, I did a ton of commercials, I've done thousands of commercials and infomercials, and this doctor, this plastic surgeon, had hired me to be a spokesperson for a weight loss product. Okay. So I was at a studio and I was pitching the HCG diet that was very popular 10 years ago. And when we were done, he goes, you know, I need more video. Would you be interested in doing trade work? I was like, trade for what? He's like, well, how about breast implants? And then I thought, oh, he thinks my breasts are small. I work on a news show on TV, like a talk show that's fun. I fill in on that. I'm a morning reporter. And all the women I was working with were getting implants. And, you know, they're looking sexy and voluptuous and they're great on TV. And my friends who are on TV, they said, my boobs are the best thing I ever did. One of them was single and she's like, oh, I look so good now. And I was in the middle of a divorce and I just thought, God, I should get these. Right. It might be beneficial for me. Sure. But I had never even thought about it. I hadn't researched it. If somebody had come to me and said, hey, you might struggle with, you know, fibromyalgia, rashes, bad skin, your hair might fall out, you might get these cysts on your face, shortness of breath, lung problem. I mean, just the whole list of problems. I would have said not only no, but hell no. I wouldn't put that in my body, but nobody told me that. They were just like, oh yeah, they're safe, they're fine, you're gonna look great. And I got them done. And
how many years ago did you get them done?
10 years ago.
Okay.
I got them done on my birthday. I got them done December 15th, 2009. So I'm just over the 10-year mark.
Yeah.
And when I called, it was literally right there where she goes, well, you just hit the 10-year mark. So nothing's really covered and you need to get them replaced anyway. And I said, I had an issue from day one. I got them in on December 15th, December 25th. I had my stitch popped open and blood shot out and pus. And I went to
the first time you had the augmentation, it went that bad?
Yeah, I went, I contacted the doctor and he said, oh, I think you have a capsular contracture, blah, 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 no big deal. But I lost sensation in my left breast. I've had pain. There's nights that I just lay there and it just kind of hurts. And when I met with the doctor for my consultation, he looked at it and he goes, oh yeah, I can tell you definitely have a contracture with the capsule. And he goes, I rank them between 1 and 4. He goes, you're a solid 3, if not more. He said, when we go in there and we start removing this, you're going to feel so much better because it's attached and pulling at the muscles and the tissues and it's up higher. And so I've had constant problems since then. Yeah. Sensation, just, I didn't like the way I looked. I felt like I was now chunky. I was somewhat petite. And also since I've had them done, my weight, I've struggled off and on with my weight, right? And again, you chalk that up to going, okay, I'm in my 30s now and 40s and you're going to start gaining weight. That's what everyone says. Oh, your body changes, your hair falls out, you get ugly, you get fat, your joints hurt. And so you just go, okay, yeah, I'm getting older, I'm fat, I'm ugly, my body hurts. Makes sense.
Well, yeah, it's easy for us to say that because we think, oh, it might be premenopause, or for someone my age, I'm almost 10 years older than you. I'm 50 this year. I was thinking, am I going into menopause, you know? And right. Some of those problems might be related to that, but we chalk it up to just typical aging. But when you actually read the literature, this is my mentor implant booklet that came with my implants, the things that we're talking about on the breast implant illness sites have been noted in the books. In other words, the manufacturers of the implants have recognized that their body will and sometimes does have an autoimmune response. It's a foreign object. The body mounts an attack against it. And what that adds up to are the long list of symptoms that you just mentioned and other symptoms that other people experience. And so it's what we call an autoimmune response. It's not just aging, and it's not premenopause, and it's not that you're going downhill in your 30s or your 40s.
But even if your body is going to go through some of that genetically, it's just the way we're designed. You know, we age. That's true. We do age, and things start. Why would you compound that, complicate it, make it worse, add additional risks, add additional potential problems like cancer? That, you know, my grandma died of breast cancer. My aunt had breast cancer, 2 of them. They had to have double mastectomies. And here I am, my other grandmother died of skin cancer. And I look at all this and I think, why in the world would I want to tempt fate and put things in my body that are going to increase my chances that much more? I'm not a fan of Russian roulette. And that's kind of what I feel like I'm playing with these boobs.
Yeah, okay, you brought up a good point, and I'm just going to tell you, I looked up on FDA.gov the Allergan BioCell breast implant recall, and here are the recommendations it gives for someone like you that is on the recall list and things they should consider. And the first thing they say is, if you have no symptoms, we're not recommending removal of your breast implants.
Yeah.
That worries me. The next one, it says you should know what the symptoms are. And one of the symptoms is persistent swelling or pain near the breast implant. I think you've had that. I think you've told me.
Only 10 years.
You've had pain for 10 years. Yeah. All right. And then it kind of goes through some of the other things. And then it does say that there's a small risk, but that you should just wait and see. How do you feel about waiting and see?
I don't like that idea at all. I don't like that answer at all. That's not the type of personality I am. If I know something, I do something. If I make a decision, I act on it. If I have information that leads me to believe that something inside my body could be poisoning me and making me sick and potentially cause me to die, right, I'm not keeping that in my body longer than I have to, which is why my surgery is scheduled March 13th. And I am not happy about it. Somebody sent me a message and goes, Brandy, are you excited? That caught me off guard. It really actually, I got mad about it. I was like, no, I am not excited. I said, that is the last word I would use for any of this nonsense. I'm mad. I'm frustrated. I'm physically upset, because not only is this going to be uncomfortable, painful, disfiguring to my body, I have to have inconvenience my parents. I have no family or support system in Utah besides my children. So I'm asking my parents to please come up from Phoenix and help me. How do I put my 2-year-old in his car seat?
You can't.
How am I going to brush my hair? How am I going to do the basic day-to-day things that a mother and an entrepreneur, I'm running 2 companies. How am I going to do this? So I'm upset that I have to inconvenience anybody on my behalf. I'm upset that I have to come up with almost $6,000 to pay for this, and that the company who's manufacturing this bullcrap did nothing about it. Oh, you'll replace them? Well, great. Why don't you pay to get them out of my body? I put them in thinking they were safe. I'm mad at my plastic surgeon. He should have told me the risks. I'm mad at society and the ability and the idea that I need to look a certain way, and especially being on TV. I'm mad at myself. I'm mad at the manufacturer. And so, no, there's nothing about me that is excited one bit. I'm upset and I'm mad. I never wanted to be in this situation. Now I'm forced into a situation that is not fun. Oh, don't work for 2 weeks. Don't lift for 2 weeks. Okay, who's going to run my company? Me. Guess who's going to be back to work within 2 weeks? I can't lay back. I can't sit back and do it. It's not a luxury or an option that I have. And so I'm dreading the whole process. I don't want to go in and get this done. I know I need them out because, again, I'm having a hard time breathing right now. Yeah. I feel like I can't catch a good breath, and that makes me upset because I'm a healthy person. So yeah, when people say, oh, are you ready to get them out? Are you excited to get them out? No, I don't want to do any of this. I want them out of my body, yes. But the idea of getting, cut open and having my muscles spread and pulled apart and having a doctor spend 3 hours going in there bit by bit, soldering and cauterizing and cutting my muscles sounds miserable and horrible and not like a fun day that I want to experience.
You're right. And you bring up an important point. Surgery is not anything to take lightly on a lot of levels, because every time we go in for surgery, there is a risk. So when you're faced with having to have a surgery in order to create better health for yourself, and the fact that you're on the recall list, and the fact that you have a health history of family members with cancer, I mean, you really don't have an option. You right. do need to move forward. And, what was that appointment like when you sat with Dr. Self? What other kind of things did he bring to your attention that maybe you hadn't thought of before that?
Well, once I found out about this, it's like, okay, where do I start? How do I even begin? I thought when I talked to my doctor and they told me it was no big deal, and I wanted to find out, do I need to get them removed? What signs and symptoms? Do I need an x-ray or an MRI or a CT scan or a mammogram to find out what's going on? I had no clue where to start.
Mm-hmm.
So first I called the plastic surgeon. I could tell that that was a joke.
Okay, so
Then
to that guy who did your original surgery, and then you ruled out him as a possible explant surgeon.
right,
right?
because they didn't even have the courtesy to call me the first time. Yeah. Or let me know anything. And then no, not a good fit. Then I called my OBGYN and I said, I had implants, they're recalled, I'm having symptoms. Do I come and see you? I didn't know where to start. And then I thought, I'm not going to spin my wheels. Do I call a primary doctor? Finally, I called Wendy. I called a woman who's been through this, who's already had her explant. It was like, why am I going to try to reinvent the wheel? And I hope that anyone who's having symptoms, you get on the group, you ask the questions, you learn where to start so that you're not going through and spinning your wheels. So I ended up finding out who does this, who believes in it, who's recommended, who has gone to some of these surgeons and had experiences. And in Utah, there were a few. I called, I tried to set up a consultation, I asked around, and then I decided on a doctor that came recommended to me multiple times, Dr. Self in Draper, Utah. Went and met with him, and it was a lot harder than I thought, actually. It was very emotional because as I was sitting there talking about the symptoms, I realized that one of my friends I had worked with for several years and used to go to lunch with all the time, she passed away about a month or so ago. And her daughter called me and told me that she had died and invited me to the funeral. And I was like, absolutely, I'm going to go. And then this whole brain fog, memory loss type thing, I have no idea where that went. I missed the funeral. It was a couple days later and I was so upset. I was just sitting there crying. I was like, how could I have forgotten this? How could I have missed this? And when I sat there with the doctor and was talking about it, the emotions just came out. I just lost it and I started crying, and it hurt because I feel like not only physically have these kind of made me sick, they're robbing me of memories and experiences and opportunities and things that mean more to me, like supporting my loved ones and being there. And I've always been very good at multitasking. You know, I can have 12 projects going on and it's fun for me and I can remember everything and I'm solid. I hit it all. But the last few months, I'm like, why am I forgetting these things? I'm forgetting kind of big things. I'm putting it all on my calendar and setting alarms and notes because otherwise sometimes I'll have something that's very important go in here and then it's just gone.
That's one of the most common problems that women are complaining about is this brain fog or the foggy brain. And it is noted in the research that has been done by the breast implant manufacturers. So it's not something that people are fabricating. It's very real and it's very frustrating and even painful.
That was a very harsh reality for me because my mom, with all of her medical issues and all the medications she's taking, that's one of the things she's experiencing. And she had called me a couple of weeks ago and she was upset and she was crying and she said, I'm losing my mind. I don't remember where I parked. I don't know what's going on and I'm scared. And while I can handle all my physical pain, I can't handle losing my mind. And so that's been on my mind thinking about that. And then when I thought, I'm starting to fall in her footsteps, and could it be that I self-inflicted this on me? Like, I don't know. I mean, I definitely want to get them out. One of the other things that Dr. Self pointed out when we were in there talking is he was asking me if I had any lumps. And I recalled, yes, over the last year or two, I had a big lump. And I went in, I've had 2 or 3 mammograms in the last couple of years. They were very concerned. We had a cancer scare. They went in, they found something, they wanted to look at it, and then they came back and said, it doesn't seem to be a problem, but it's on the left breast where I've had pain since day one. When we go in and do the explant, he's going to look at that and see, is it something more serious? Could it potentially be cancer? And I don't know. And it feels like, you know, we've read things where it says if you have silicone implants, you shouldn't be getting a mammogram. Well, I went in and I've had 2 or 3 of them in the last little bit. And I told them I have implants and they're like, yeah, this is fine. But man, they squeeze you and prod you. And I don't know, having the capsule contracture in there, if it caused any other problems, because it really feels like over the last year or two, my symptoms have progressed. Last year, I was in and out of the hospital for a month with lung problems. They found a nodule on my lung. They talked about biopsying it. I was doubled over in pain. I couldn't breathe. It was just like the most random thing. They said, maybe you have pneumonia. We don't quite know what it is. Luckily, I've been okay after about 6-8 weeks of dealing with that. But who knows if the implants are causing that or not. But either way, I know that I do have a pain, I do have a lump, and we're going to look at that when we explant.
Yeah. Sorry about the dogs in the background. You have breast lumps. You've had multiple mammograms, which, yeah, we worry about whether there could be a silent rupture, possible capsular contracture, or for sure capsular contracture.
I think it's a for sure, because my first original plastic surgeon told me after 10 days that happened, but don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. You'll be fine. Said the pain is normal. It's nothing to worry about. And then when I met with Dr. Self, he's like, yeah, you definitely have a 3 out of 4. I can feel it. He could feel it on the outside. He says, when I go in there, I'll fix all of that. Yeah. But, I think it's kind of interesting. One of my friends, I work in a male-dominated industry, and one of my friends, he had paid for all of his wife's plastic surgery, and she had gotten breast implants. And as soon as he paid for everything, they got a divorce, and she had a new boyfriend. And apparently, he said her new boyfriend hugged her so tight, he popped her implant.
Oh.
Popped her implant. And I remember he and I, he kind of laughed about it. He's like, isn't that funny? And I just thought, I didn't really think that they could pop or rupture or whatever. And I remember
but they can. I've got to tell you. So what my girlfriend had implants in, and she had a small baby. I mean, gosh, she was maybe a year and a half. She was changing his diaper, and he kicked her, and the kick was hard enough that it actually, from a small child, not a 5-year-old, a tiny toddler, the kick while he was having his diaper changed was strong enough that it ruptured her saline implant, and she deflated.
It's crazy to me because he sat there and he laughed and he's like, ha ha. And now I look back on it. At the time I was just like, well, she had implants, blah, blah, blah. I didn't think it was a big deal. Now, as somebody going through this, I'm like, wow, that's really horrible. It's bad that she had these. It's bad that it ruptured. What is she going through? And I'm just thinking, I want to know, because you don't know what's going on inside your body. Right. And the other thing that was interesting when I talked to Dr. Self, I said, so I think getting the explant is going to be way worse than getting the implant. He's like, well, he goes, the implants are pretty bad because it's going in and stretching your muscles, and we're putting stuff into a space and it has to create the space. But the difference on the explant, if you think of those mouse sticky traps or just super glue, he said now those implants are basically super glued to everything inside your breast. It's super glued to the muscle and everything. So he has to go through, and he says a good plastic surgeon, when he's explanting, and take his time so that you're cauterizing every single one of those veins or whatever it is that he has to go through, so that you don't get bleeds, so that your body heals better. And that was something I didn't think about, because you're like, oh yeah, let's just remove them. You think you're going to cut open and then it's just going to plop out. No. And I mean, that's what I thought. I was like, well, they plopped in, it's this little silicone or saline or whatever, and they just kind of shove them in there, create the pocket, no problem. Then, in your mind, if you haven't researched it, you think, okay, they're going to cut me and they're going to just pull it out. No big deal. Right. So learning that they actually have to go in there and spend 2 or 3 hours meticulously going and detaching it, fiber by fiber from your body, that was a little traumatic for me to think about. And I guess that's why it takes so long to do it. But that's really important that you get somebody who's skilled, because some of them will go in there really fast and just kind of, cut it out and remove it. And then you might have more issues. Right. And getting that capsule out is really important. And if you don't ask your doctor whether they're going to take that capsule out, you might end up with a doctor who leaves it in your body. When someone's having a conversation with their doctor, they need to make absolutely sure that he's going to take the capsule out. And the reason is that if you leave those toxins behind in the body,
they can potentially keep a person sick and prevent them from getting well. And in the past, it wasn't common to remove the implant and the capsule. It was more common to actually just remove the implant and leave the capsule. So that was part of your research, I know. I just wanted to point that out for the benefit of people listening.
Yeah, do your homework, go on these groups, study it out. I mean, I've been surprised at how much I've learned so quickly. And when they say the heal is real, I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to seeing if my eyes change, that when I wake up in the morning, if I can see, if it doesn't hurt. My hair loss, I mean, that makes me nervous too. It's like, I'm pretty thankful for the hair I have, but I see just clumps of it coming out, and it scares me. And so I am looking forward to starting to heal from this and getting them out of my body. I'm definitely not excited for my surgery on March 13th.
You know, Brandy, what about the fact that you are a single mom and you have this dating life going on, and you know, what concerns go on in your mind?
It's hard. One is what I mentioned earlier, the fact that I'm doing this alone, that I have to step up to the plate. I don't have any outside support. But the other thing that's hard is I am dating. I've made it a goal this year to put myself out there and stop being so focused on building my business. And I'm ready to meet somebody. And you put these pictures out there, and I'm not one that's, you know, I've never been one to post boob shots or revealing pictures or anything like that, but I have my photos out there, and it's scary because I'm worried that if I meet somebody now who sees me, Brandy, double D, and then here in, you know, a little while, I'm going to be back to my B. Is that false advertising? Is that scary? Are they not going to like me? I don't care what people think about me, but now that I'm putting myself out there and trying to date, I don't want to do false advertising, and it is kind of scary. Like, I'm a little bit nervous right now I have a date tomorrow and I'm going out with this person, and I've posted a few pictures, and it's like, okay, well, what do you say? If somebody's like, oh, wow, you look great, you take good care of yourself. And then I feel like I have to say, oh, well, I'm getting my implants removed in a few weeks, and so I'm going to not be a double D, I'm going to be a B. Would you still like me? It's just kind of an awkward conversation. And not that I definitely want somebody who isn't superficial, that can love me for me, whether I'm a B or a D or an F, because our bodies do change, and they change over the years. But at the same time, when you're basically just, we live in a world that swipe left, swipe right based off of strictly appearance, which is why in Utah, we got it done. Because we wanted to look a certain way. We wanted to look pretty. We wanted to look good. We wanted to look proportional. I wanted the big chest to balance out what I thought was bigger hips. And I look at it now, I just wish I was always pretty okay with the way I looked. I mean, I was happy with the way I looked. Now I'm scared. Am I going to be saggy? Am I going to be, you know, I don't know what I'm going to look like. I'm really hopeful that I'm going to look like I did before, but I don't know if that's going to happen. And when you're dating, it's just kind of an awkward conversation to have. And I've had that with a few people that I've gone out with, because I want to be open and honest and say, hey, I'm getting these removed in a few weeks. Like, if you're only here or talking to me because you like big boobs and you cannot lie, then we have a problem. I almost feel like I have to put a disclaimer on my bio profile and say, hey, you might be noticing my double Ds, but I'm going to be getting them removed. So if you're not okay with the B, just swipe left on me.
Yeah, right. Oh my gosh. It's the reality, this, especially when you're dating and you are looking at getting into a relationship, that your body's going to change. I mean, hopefully, most important, we're considering your health, that your health is going to improve and that you're going to get better.
I mean, I went to a charity event last night. And over the last few weeks, I've been vocal. I've started to speak out, and I've had people who I never thought in a million years reach out to me. A friend who said, I think you might have just helped us solve my sister's 40-year-old mystery. She's been sick for 40 years. We don't know why. Her husband was a plastic surgeon who gave her implants 40 years ago. He's since passed away, and she is so sick, and we can't figure out why. And she's got this. And by you sharing this story, we're going to look at it and see if we can fix it. I've had several messages come in, and I thought, I didn't want, like you guys, I don't want to be the poster child. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be doing this. I don't even want to be having this conversation. But because I'm going through it, and because I'm vocal and have a platform, and I have some courage, and I'm a brave person, I'm willing to speak up and say, hey, this is happening to me. Think twice before you get implants, or if you have implants and you're having symptoms, you might want to consider this. And the fact already, people say it, and it sounds a little cliche to say, God, if I can just save one person, if I can just help one person. And here I am sitting here with you having this conversation, and I know for a fact I've already helped 3 or 4.
Wonderful.
And that's just the people that have reached out directly to me to say thank you. I think that this is something I'm dealing with, and I'm going to get it looked at. And so that makes me feel really good to know that my pain matters, and that I'm not suffering in vain, or that I'm not paying this $6,000 for nothing. That maybe every time I'm doing this or saying this, that it's going through and that it's going to make a difference for somebody. Because whether, I've talked to my children, don't get it done. I've talked to various people, and I'm putting it out on social media. And my goal is, you're a big person. You get to make decisions. We all have freedom to choose what we want to do with our bodies. And some people might hear this and still want to get them, and that's on them. But if they start having symptoms, maybe they'll know what's causing it.
Yeah, exactly. At least it'll be on someone's radar. So like you, they can start researching it and find out for themselves. I mean, we're not trying to diagnose anybody. What we're trying to do is spread awareness.
Education.
So learn.
If you are at least aware of what the implications might be and the side effects, then you can make an informed decision. And that's fine, because guess what? At the end of the day, you're the one that deals with your body and your medical. That being said, though, so many women, it's affecting their children. It's affecting their work. I mean, there was a nurse who actually went in yesterday. She hasn't been able to work because she's been so sick. She hasn't been able to have a relationship with her husband or her children because she's been so sick. So when you say, my body, my choice, guess what? It isn't always just only affecting you. It might affect your ability to work, to function, and to be a good spouse or mom or daughter or whatever to whoever. So I just feel like at the end of the day, if we can help create any awareness so that you can make an informed decision on what you want to do, or if you're having issues, maybe you decide to look into this, please look into it. I wish I wouldn't have done it. I'm looking forward to the next chapter. When it does come to dating, I think the right person's going to love me for me. And I don't want the superficial in here. The older you get, the more you realize, now that I'm 42, I sit back and I realize that what really matters. When I sit there and I do Nobody Dies Alone at the hospital, or last night I'm sitting with the family and they're turning off life support on their loved one, I think about health, wellness, love, support. It does not matter what you look like. It matters what you feel like and who you are. And the right people at the right time are going to love that. And if they don't, then they're not right for you.
Yeah. Amen to that. That is so true. We will be inviting you on the show again. You're part of Killer Boobies. So you will be on the show. You're going to let us know what it's like for you to have the surgery. You're going to know what it's like for recovery. We're going to talk about a lot of other topics in the future. So thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you again.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Spread the word by subscribing, liking, and sharing the Killer Boobies podcast today. You could be the person who helps someone reverse their pain and suffering and reclaim their health today.